first aid firefighting appliance. Fire extinguisher is a handy, first aid firefighting equipment. Fire extinguisher anatomy. Discharge lever. Discharge locking pin and seal. Discharge hose. Discharge nozzle. Discharge orifice. Pressure gauge, not found on carbon dioxide extinguishers. Carrying handle. Data plate. Body. How to use a fire extinguisher. P. Pull the pin. A. Aim the nozzle. S. Squeeze the lever. S. Sweep side to side at the base of the fire. Classifications of fire extinguishers. Hexafluoropropane HFC236Fa or Fe-36 clean agent. An environmentally preferred alternative to halon with zero ozone depleting potential or ODP, Montreal Protocol and Republic Act 8749, also known as the Philippine Clean Air Act compliant, recommended for A, B and C types of fire. Dry chemical. Today's most widely used type of fire extinguisher is the multi-purpose dry chemical that is effective on Class A, B and C fires. This agent also works by creating a barrier between the oxygen element and the fuel element on Class A fires. Aqueous film forming foam or AFFF. This type of fire extinguisher puts out the fire by taking away the heat element of the fire triangle. Foam agents separate the oxygen element from the other elements. Water extinguishers are for Class A fires only, although they can sometimes be used on Class B fires. The discharge stream could spread the flammable liquid in a Class B fire if the mixture of the fire agent is inaccurate, or could create a shock hazard on a Class C fire. Wet chemical is a new agent that extinguishes the fire by removing the heat of the fire triangle and prevents reignition, by creating a barrier between the oxygen and fuel elements. Wet chemical or Class K extinguishers were developed for modern, high-efficiency deep-fat fryers in commercial cooking operations. Some may be used on Class A fire in commercial kitchens. Dry powder extinguishers are similar to dry chemical, except that they extinguish the fire by separating the fuel from the oxygen element or by removing the heat element of the fire triangle. However, dry powder extinguishers are for Class D, or combustible metal fires only. They are ineffective on all other classes of fires. Fire drill is an exercise or practice that teach the people on how to leave the building safely. Purpose of fire drill: 1. Ensure the efficient and safe of exits. 2. Help prevent panic. 3. Occupants participating in a drill learns to A. Locate the fire exits of the building. B. Leave the building or house in a smooth, safely, orderly and disciplined manner. C. Recognize or familiarize the actual sound of the fire alarm system. D. Assemble at the designated evacuation area. Fire marshal. During emergencies, the fire marshal should have a complete monitoring and supervision of the situation. The fire marshal must be able to immediately set up a command post. The fire marshal must immediately have an available copy of the floor plan or layout of the building. The fire marshal should regularly organize fire safety seminars and drills for the building fire brigade and occupants. Assistant Brigade Marshal. During an emergency, the Assistant Brigade Marshal should take charge of the situation in the absence of the Brigade Marshal. Must provide full assistance to the Brigade Marshal on the supervision of fire brigade. Communication team. Upon confirmation that fire is positive, the assigned communication team must immediately call the nearest fire station, or any provided emergency hotline. Must be always prepared to give public address in case of evacuation. Firefighting team. Must have at least 4 members to act as nozzle man, backup, lineman and valve operator upon verification of a reported fire. The first 2 responders must bring 2 fire extinguishers and a handheld radio. They are responsible in immediately informing the brigade marshal or communication team if the fire is positive. Must be able to provide quick assessment if the fire is uncontrollable. Evacuation team. Must have at least 2 members per floor. They are responsible for providing full assistance on the proper evacuation of all the occupants of the building. Should be familiar with all the entry and exit points of the building, including the designated evacuation area. Security Traffic Team. All security personnel are automatically designated as security or traffic team members. Should know the roles or responsibilities of all the fire brigade members. During a fire emergency, one security personnel must serve as a fireman's guide, and assist the responding Bureau Fire Protection personnel on the exact location of the fire scene. The team must ensure the safety of the evacuation area, and assist the police in crowd control. All the members are required to be familiar with the layout of the building, giving much emphasis on the location of the utility rooms, or tenants storing high-hazard equipment, for example server rooms. Rescue Team. Once the evacuation signal or alarm is sounded, the rescue team shall conduct initial search and rescue procedures on the building. Must immediately bring the victims at the designated first aid station. Salvage Team. During a fire emergency, the salvage team is responsible for saving savable properties within the fire scene, or those properties that can be saved from further damage to lessen the amount of damages. First Aid Team. Responsible for the proper and immediate application of basic first aid to the victims. Must monitor the hospitals wherein the victims were brought. Should be properly trained in basic first aid and cardiopulmonary resuscitation or CPR. Fire Safety Personnel. Responsible for the daily monitoring and inspection of all the fire safety features of the building. In case the sprinkler system activates during a fire incident, they must be on standby, on the involved isolation valve, for an immediate shut-off after the declaration of fire out by the Bureau of Fire Protection. A fire brigade must remember to determine the specific fire floor. Begin the control of evacuation. Search of the fire floor and all floors above the fire. Gain control of building systems. Confine and extinguish the fire.